Welcome back. Like every other major market across the globe now, exchanges in Nigeria remain in operations as trading goes on remotely to curtail the spread of the coronavirus. But are there concerns over this new work-life balance among traders or not? Well, let's find out from the registrar of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, Mr. Adedeji Ajadi, who joins us live here in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Ajadi, and thanks for coming on the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
As a teacher on markets and, of course, as a trader as well, now, what are you and members of your institute learning about this sole remote trading period?
Well, the interesting thing is that remote trading is not new. It's not completely new. Most stockbroking firms have been on that platform for a long time. I think what you can say is that we are missing a little bit of what happens on the floor because people are used to the floor. It's a platform to socialize, to meet your friends. And there are significant events that happen on the floor, you know, when you have VIPs visiting and things like that. But beyond that, we are already used to trading remotely, you know, from different offices before. So it's not completely new, but because this is the first time that the floor is practically being closed, so to say, it's a new experience, you know, but that does not stop business from going on.
You just said it's a new experience, so how has the experience really been?
Yeah, well, just like I said, it's not usual. It's not the way it normally is. Don't forget, again, this is not a usual moment as well. All businesses, everything has been affected, and so the way we do business also has been affected. So people are feeling that difference, you know, but we know that it's the exigency of the situation that has caused this situation. So.
Now, all right. So before now, that most retail clients and minority investors, of course, would rather place their orders physically or at most via phone call. But how are they adapting to this new method of remote trading?
Now, again, for years now, I know that it's not well popularized. A lot of people don't know about it. But actually, for most of the big stockbroking firms, you can place your orders right with your phone, you know, on your laptop, and so on and so forth. So I think clients are beginning to appreciate the importance of being able to use technology to enable their business because, again, at this period, you can't go to offices, you can't move around while you want to do your trade. So I think what this will do is at the end of it, when the dust settles, it will open our minds to possibilities and possibly change our paradigm as to the way we do business. Most of we need to go more using technology to do our business. Again, just like I said, people will now see the effect, you know, of doing physical business compared to going online using using technology. I think that's the way to go. This might be a pointer to us to review the way we do our businesses and prepare for future exigencies like this.
But what about minority shareholders now? Have they raised any concerns about this remote trading since it started?
No, not much, because people are aware that nobody wants this situation. It is just the circumstances that created the situation we are in right now. So it's even a good thing that we have prepared for a situation like this. You can imagine a situation if all along the focus has always been on physical transactions. But because that backup plan has been there, it's a lot easier for people to do their business, you know, using technology.
And what about traders who do not currently have access to remote trading? Are they in paucity of operations at this point?
Very few. I can assure you that most stockbroking firms already are hooked onto the remote trading platform. Only that, again, for socialization, people just want to go to the floor once in a while and all of that. So very few stockbroking firms are not hooked on to remote trading. And if there are any, the NSE has said that they will provide technical staff to support as many as want to hook on at this point in time. So I don't see any problem also.
So with all of this now, is the Institute joining with regulators to mandate electronic or remote trading for brokers?
Well, for now, we are nothing like mandating it. But again, I think it becomes very clear now that that is the way to go. In fact, on their own, a lot of people, there's a strong business case for the use of technology because we have Nigerians or people all across the country who want to be able to participate. The trading floors are not everywhere. So we need to take this campaign more into the remote areas and want more people to participate in the market. To do that, we need to deploy technology more. So this, I think, is a good opportunity to raise that point more to the market.
Yes, indeed. But would you say that the remote trading has limited the free fall in the markets?
To limited it? I don't think so. I don't think so. It's the situation that is creating what we are seeing in the equities market. You can imagine if it was a bullish market and the only option you have is still to trade remotely, people will still do their trades, you know. So I don't see the situation we're having in terms of the downturn, sell-offs as a result of the remote trading. It's more about the negative sentiments in the market, the uncertainty of the future that we have in the market, not basically the way we trade.
Now, tell us, what's the conversation around the presence of traders on the floor, of course, compared to the sole remote trading experience? Do you see more brokers sustaining this mode of trading rather than being on the trading floor when all this blow away? That's post-COVID-19.
In fact, that has been the trend. For those of us who visit the floor frequently, once in a while you get to the floor and you see the floor very, very scanty because most people are actually trading remotely. Like I told you, the reason why people still flock to the floor on a regular basis are so many other activities that happen on the floor. You know, when shares are supposed to be listed, we do it on the floor. The floor is a symbolic location for brokers to socialize. I think that is more of the reason why we go to the floor more, not basically about the trades, because you could do your trade in your different offices.
So let's talk about the new conditional way of holding annual general meetings. Of course, we saw GT Bank being the pace setter in this regard. So is this a possible game changer for holding annual general meetings in Nigeria?
Again, I think this is happening now because of the situation. I don't see it being the norm in the nearest future. People will still want to, well, maybe because we are just not used to it. That's not what we've been doing. But with this, it shows us clearly that it can happen, and you are not going to lose anything, you know, by having your AGM the way by proxy. But I think once in a year, people still want to come together and, you know, see the faces of, because there's something about technology which is a weakness. It is that it is impersonal. So human beings still want to see one another, still want to interact. That need will still be there. But this shows us that anything is possible, especially if circumstances do not permit us to have it the normal way we should have it.
So is this a case with shareholders? I mean, what are they saying about the representation by proxies at such AGMs?
Well, they know that we don't have any other choice at this time. And you don't want to postpone something like the AGM. It's a very important forum where you make major decisions. Don't forget corporate actions. You can't pay your dividend, for instance, if it is not approved at the AGM. There are major resolutions that companies want to pass, and if you don't have the AGM, you can't do it. So you don't want to keep all those hanging because nobody is really sure exactly when this will be lifted. So this is the way to go for now, and I think people actually appreciate that opportunity. You can imagine a lot of people expecting their dividend. If GPT says, no, we don't know, we wait until this, I mean, that may be another 2 months, 3 months, we are not sure. So this flexibility actually makes people happy to see that we can still go on with business, even though we may not be able to meet physically.
Now, the Corporate Affairs Commission has asked companies that would rather hold AGM by proxies to consider bearing the cost of stamp duties and delivery of forms to members or shareholders, as the case may be now. But with such a demand, do you think that the cost of staging AGMs has probably reduced?
I think one needs to do a little bit of analysis on that because on the one hand, there are going to be a lot of cost savings. In arranging an AGM, you need to take a big hall, go to a location, bring everybody together, you know, do entertainment and all of that. That's one cost that is going to be saved. The additional cost now is to pay for these stamp duties and the rest of it. So it's weighing the cost. But even if the cost is higher, I don't think the companies care too much at this time because these are sacrifices we need to make things run at this particular point in time.
Now, let's talk about your activities at the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers now. How is the COVID-19 disrupting your calendar? Of course, you should have some exams slated for this quarter.
Absolutely. Actually, our exams are supposed to hold yesterday, today, we have had to postpone those exams until things normalize. And that is the same situation with most of the other professional bodies. I'm sure ICANN did the same, CIBN did the same. Again, because we want to support the move of the federal government to ensure that we tackle this COVID-19 challenge. Along with other stakeholders in the country. So that definitely has disrupted our activities, but we hope things normalize as quickly as possible so that we can continue with our event. Our exams, as soon as things normalize, we believe that within 2 to 3 weeks, we should be able to hold our exam because we're actually ready. Only that we had to postpone at the last minute.
Now, since you say you're ready, have you weighed the possibility of, writing those exams online?
Well, our exams have always been CBT on systems, on computers, but doing it remotely is a different ballgame. And I think with what has happened now, we will strongly consider the possibility of having situations where we don't need to bring everybody together. People still are able to write their exams. I think the whole of this is changing people's paradigm, and we need to prepare for the future. Possibilities of things like this happening.
And of course, in other curricular activities now, would you also consider leveraging technology?
I mean, just to give an example, it is possible that our AGM, if approved by council, may also, be online by streaming, because again, we don't want to postpone critical activities that can disrupt the operations of the institute. So very soon you may hear that we are also having our AGM online. So all of these are on the table.
The Registrar of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, Mr. Adedidi Ajadi, thanks for sharing some of your time with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Right, let's switch gear now to the domestic commodities market to see some of the burning economic issues at the moment. And the research analyst, Desola Simoni, joins us now for an analysis of this. Good morning, Desola. Of course, we've seen the federal government cut the price of PMS by to 123 naira 50 kobo per litre, effective from April the 1st, 2020, which was yesterday. What is the effect of this price reduction on the average Nigerian?
For some context, in March 19, March 19, the federal government initially cut the price of PMS from 145 naira per litre to 125 naira per litre. But in addition, they also introduced a price modulation mechanism, which essentially is like a formula or a template or a model that helps to determine the expected open market price of petrol, essentially the selling price of petrol in the domestic market. So this formula essentially tracks changes in the global markets, and some of the key components of the formula are the cost price of PMS as well as cost of freight. So what has happened is that the federal government also granted the PRA leave to review the prices of PMS monthly. So what has happened is that compared to March 19, when the price was initially reduced, the cost price as well as the cost of freight for PMS has changed, and that is why we have seen the further reduction in April of 150 kobo. Now, the impact of this is that Nigerians have fuel is cheaper, and they have some disposable income, and in total, the aggregate effect is that an increase in aggregate demand of about 40 million naira.
Another cherry news, perhaps, is the postponement of the new electricity tariff due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, what would be the impact of this postponement?
Well, first of all, speaking in normative terms, I must say that it is the right thing to do, especially given the fact that this COVID-19 pandemic has threatened people's lives and livelihood. And going ahead with it at this time, I think it would be quite insensitive, and it could also lead to large-scale defaults in payments. Now, having said that, I strongly of the opinion that introducing cost-reflective tariffs is a necessary condition to improve electricity supply in Nigeria. And it's also going to provide some form of incentives to distribution companies to further, buy equipment and expand capacity to improve Nigeria's electricity supply. So overall, I think it's positive. It's good that the increase was postponed.
Oil prices are up this morning with Brent trading at about $27 a barrel. Of course, we also saw the Naira stable at 415 to the dollar at the parallel market. Now, how do these events affect the central bank's FX policy?
So what we are seeing is a decrease in the ammunition of the central bank, right? Let me give you again some context. In 2017, when the central bank introduced this IFX window as well as intervening in the FX markets, frequently reserves were robust, I think about 45 billion US dollars. But since this year, year to date, price of crude has declined significantly, about 60%. We're also seeing external reserves declining consistently. So these factors put together has has constrained the ability, has reduced the ammunition of the central bank to continue to defend the FX. And the central bank has already made some changes. We've seen the central bank allowing the interbank rates to depreciate to 260. We have seen the central bank suspending the frequent intervention in the FX market. We also see some demand management strategies like reducing the international spending limits on debit cards. For instance, I received an email from my bank the other day that my spending limit has been reduced from $3,000 per month to about $1,500. Now, having said that, it's a good thing that while we are suffering from this supply shock in terms of lower oil prices and hemorrhaging reserves, there's also a shock on the demand side in terms of people are not traveling, people are not going on bed tourism, hospital tourism, people are not shopping abroad. So that has reduced the pressure on the Naira. But my view is that after post-COVID-19 pandemic, when things come back to normal, I think that the central bank is also going to employ some more unorthodox policies, such as more demand management policies. We're likely to see more items to be listed on the list of 41 items just to support the Naira.
We've seen panic buying across the country and more recently in Ogun State ahead of the lockdown on Friday. How has this affected the price of domestic commodities?
Well, let me take you back to Econ 101. From Econ 101, we know that, when there's an outward or rightward shift in the demand curve and the supply curve remains constant or shifts, but not as much as the shift in the demand curve, prices jump. And that is exactly what we are seeing. We are seeing because of panic buying, people are stockpiling because of the lockdown. Prices, because of this panic buying, prices are jumping. I've seen prices of essentials like palm oil, new yam, sugar, tomatoes, peppers, garri, all jump significantly because of the lockdown. However, although I'm a free market economist, I believe in the invisible hand to determine the market clearing price. But at this time, I feel, again, talking normatively, I'm of the opinion that it is quite unfair for suppliers to take advantage of this COVID-19 pandemic to make profits from Nigerians, and I think that it is something the government should consider to introduce anti-price gauging laws or legislations just to prevent suppliers from hiking prices for essentials. So, for instance, in the UK here, prices, even though people are stockpiling, people are panic buying, prices remain unchanged. In the US, the same thing. And I think this is also pertinent for Nigeria because about 50% of the population live below the poverty line. So at this time of national crisis, at this time of this global pandemic, increasing the price of basic things like garri, like rice, like pepper and tomatoes, I think is quite unfair.
The US FDA has approved the use of chloroquine as a treatment for coronavirus. In your view, what are the implications of this?
First, I'm not a medical doctor, and I'm no health expert, but looking at the economics of it, I think the fact that this drug has been approved by the FDA, I think it might increase demand significantly and lead to a shortage, which might then push price higher. But again, it's important to know that this drug is still very, very experimental. And from what I gather, the scientific evidence is inconclusive. Although in the initial stages of testing, it provided some promise. But I think it is still inconclusive. And the fact that it has been approved people may stockpile, people may buy a lot, and this might cause shortages for people who actually need it, for people who need it to treat malaria. However, on the other hand, I think I should sound a note of warning that, despite the fact that it has been approved, people should be careful. People should not self-medicate. People should use it only with the advice of a medical expert, because in the United States already, somebody has died because of overdosing on chloroquine, and a man in Arizona has died recently from overdosing on chloroquine, and his wife, or his now widow, is in the ICU unit. So people should use it with caution.
That people will indeed take precaution. Desola Sumoni, research analyst with the financial derivatives company. Thanks for your time. Still ahead on the program, an opening call to London plots the debt and currencies market. Do stay with us.